Hello everybody, thank you for joining me for this 10th episode in my ongoing series about unpopular philodendrons. Now, since it's the 10th episode, I was wondering whether I should do something special, so today I want to talk about what some would call my ugliest, but in my opinion the most interesting philodendron that I have. So this is it. This is my philodendron crassinervium. And before you say that this plant belongs in the trash or should be chopped up for propagation or something like that, I totally understand, but please bear with me because there are good reasons why I chose this specific philodendron for today's episode. Even though from an aesthetic point of view, I guess it's not the prettiest plant on the planet, to say the least. But actually, I would compare this plant more or less to like an old grumpy dog with a leg missing or one blind eye, or perhaps even some bald spots in its fur, but that you still love because it's been your companion for several years and you don't want to lose it. At the same time, and I'll explain myself throughout this video, I have learned so much about philodendrons and actually about taking care of plants in general by taking care of this specific plant. And as a bonus, there is actually a lot to tell about this specific philodendron and its care. Now, first of all, why do I call this plant unpopular? First of all, there's obviously not a lot of buzz on social media about this plant. It's not readily available in your average physical nursery or even specialized physical plant shop. Now, normally at this point, I say that the only way to get this plant is to order it online and to have it shipped at your place, etc. But I just had a quick look on the internet and I noticed that this philodendron is actually not even readily available in online plant shops at this very moment. A lot of online shops that I checked just don't have it, and most of those who offer it online seem currently out of stock. Now, this could all be just a coincidence, but perhaps there's more to it, I don't know. I even checked the online shop where I got it from and they don't even offer it anymore altogether. So there's a first mystery with this plant, and later on in the video you will see that it's not the only mystery that is surrounding this philodendron. So in a nutshell, this is indeed an unpopular philodendron. Now what you see here is a picture of the plant at the moment that it arrived at my place in December 2020. I had it shipped from the Netherlands to my country, Belgium, and I think I paid 40 euros for this plant. And you can count, I think, 6 decent leaves and a 7th leaf that was on its way. By the way, on this picture, you can also see why this plant is called crassinervium, which basically means thick vein, because the middle vein of the leaf is unusually thick, and the purpose of that is that the plants apparently stock water in that vein for drier times. So all was well at the moment that I received this plant, but as you noticed in the beginning of the video, none of these 7 leaves have actually made it since this plant has been under my care. So what went wrong? I would say everything, and right from the start. And I can tell you already now that this is the most difficult and grumpy philodendron that I have ever had. Online you will read that, like all philodendrons, this is a very easy care plant, but in my experience this is not true at all. Now you have to know that this plant came to me already potted up, which should be a big plus, right? Wrong. Because what actually happened is that over the next months, the plant started losing its original leaves one by one, slowly but surely, and I had no idea why. On top of that, there was no sign of any new growth whatsoever. So to me, this was all a big mystery. I thought this plant was in total agony and it would surely die. By spring 2021, I think it had like 2 original leaves left, but then, very symbolically, around Easter, a resurrection miracle occurred. It started producing a new leaf and then even a few more. And I thought, great, we're back in business, but then I got overconfident and said, I'm gonna take a top cutting to propagate it. And I did. Now the reaction of this plant was very swift. It threw a huge tantrum, it lost one of the 2 remaining leaves that were still on the plant, and finally it went totally dormant. Now the funny thing is my little side story here about the cutting itself. That has been in a perlite propagation box for almost a year now, and I can say the daughter is as grumpy and hideous as the mother plant. For ages it didn't grow at all, then it decided to also drop all of its leaves, that by the way can become 1 meter long, I can always dream. Then she started growing these crazy aerial roots, and just recently, after a whole year, she grew one single leaf out of the blue, as you can see here. So I'd say the grumpiness is definitely hereditary. By the way, by this time I think we can all imagine what will happen the day I have the nerve to take her out of the propagation box. There will be hell to pay for, it's a sure thing. Now let's get back to the mother plant. And I want to say that this philodendron is a very good example of what is called endemism. This means that a lot of philodendrons can only be found in a very specific region or sometimes even in one single valley. This philodendron, for instance, can only be found in one region in the southeast of Brazil, in a tropical rainforest close to the beach near the Atlantic Ocean. And this already answers the question about humidity, by the way, and I confirm this plant really needs high humidity. Now apparently this philodendron in the wild can be a creeper, staying on the soil. It has also often been seen just growing on rocks, and sometimes it climbs a bit on a tree. So let's say it's quite the versatile plant. Now I haven't repotted this plant so far, but I will soon, and I think it seems to like to grow on rocks, so I will treat it with a lot of lava rock in my aroid mix. Now for light, I have found out that the only thing that works to keep this plant alive, I'm not even saying to make the plant thrive, is to grow it quite close to a growing light. Now finally, two more things to end this video. First of all, some people talk about a love-hate relationship with a specific plant, but for this philodendron and myself there's actually no hate, because deep down we know that we are both silently rooting for the same thing, which is to do our best to make this plant survive, although it will probably never be my most beautiful philodendron. And then the very last thing, and this is really weird, I said earlier that last year around Easter the mother plant started growing for the very first time. And you also noticed that the cutting in the perlite box just recently started growing a new leaf after 1 year. And now, as you can see, recently also the mother plant started growing once again from a small growing point right under where I took the cutting. And guess what it is today? Right, today we are Easter, which is all about resurrection. So I would say Mother Nature works in mysterious ways. That's all for this episode. Thank you for watching. Have a nice Easter. Bye bye.